Entering the atmosphere in T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Omega Metroid podcast from OmegaMetroid.com. My name is Andy Spiteri, returning this week after an unexpected week off last week, and joined by my pal and yours, the man who steps up when I have to leave on short notice. His name is Doomino Crossing. What's up, buddy?
Pretty good. It's been a busier weekend than I was anticipating. I got a heck of a bonus. In my work paycheck on top of my tax return. I can't remember if I talked about it last week, but I got like $1,000 back in my my tax return on top of my bonus.
Nice.
It's been pretty nice. It's come in handy for that Switch 2 pre-order, which all three of us got our Switch 2's pre-ordered. I think we all got that Mario Kart bundle.
Oh my god.
Absolutely. Oh, that I have some stories on my end as well, and on top of that, I don't know how obvious it is on my camera, but you might notice my room is starting to be a little more cleared out a little bit more now. And that kind of ties into like my bonuses and my financial situations. So, hopefully I promised almost a year ago when I moved into this house that you were going to see the room evolve as I moved in. Well, I think for real now, we're actually on progress to see some real change. I just ordered a ton of new bookcases for the room. My Xbox mini fridge, which was boxed up here, it's all the way over there now off camera. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm very excited to finally really put this room together.
I feel like that's like, I gotta do that immediately. Like when I move, there's no way I could move into somewhere like a year later. You know, like I gotta get my setup going. That was like one of the first things I did when I moved into my house for this office, because I was just like, I'm gonna be down here a lot. I'm just gonna do it. This is gonna be my priority number one.
I had other financial priorities. I was in debt. I had I needed to get a new phone in December because my old one broke, and so there was a bunch of stuff that piled up. Everything,
not even like buying
now.
stuff, just like getting it. Like, you know what I mean? Like when you move in, like you got your stuff everywhere. It's all in the way. Like and this is like a weird thing for me. One of the first things I do, because I've moved like a bunch of times in my life, I hang my pictures like right away, just because it's like, it makes it feel homey to me, if that's even a word, homey. But that's one of the things with me is like a bunch of my stuff was like pinned and tacked on the wall, and I made a promise to myself, like, okay, no more pinning and tacking. We're gonna get these bad boys framed. Yeah. They're gonna look nice. You can already see like a couple of them right there in the background. Actually, got some new ones that I don't think you can quite see them. They're a bit off camera, but I posted them in the Discord for anyone that wants to check out. Some Samus Returns and the Super Metroid selection screen, which I think looks absolutely sick in poster format. Yes. Sorry, we had a cameo from Zora the Cat in the background there. One
of my favorite cameos.
Indeed, yes. She's had quite the day today, actually. She woke up early, woke everybody up a little bit early today, and has had some words with Lincoln the dog as well. So, and nevertheless, so I'm back after last week. I was not expecting to not be here last week, but something came up. So thank you for covering, and thanks for Dak for filling in actually on like incredibly short notice. I literally texted him like an hour and a half before, and I was like, hey buddy, what you doing tonight? So that worked out well. We'll talk about some things that happened on or that you guys discussed on last week's episode, and we're going to talk about the Switch 2 pre-order. I have something I want to discuss before we get there. Now, as everybody knows, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/spnet. And on that Patreon, there is a ZeldaCast branch, there's an Omega Metroid branch, and there is a Virtual Theater branch. A Virtual Theater is, of course, Gooey and I's podcast about video game movies and the stories that shape them. And of those three branches, the Virtual Theater is like definitely the least, there's the least membership for that one. And I'm going to campaign a little bit here for this tier, because yesterday, Gooey and I we did a double header. So we did a Virtual Theater episode on Castlevania Nocturne Season 2, which kicks ass. It is so awesome. If you're a Metroid fan and you haven't played Castlevania, you absolutely should, and you should watch that show. It's awesome. But we also recorded a 2-hour episode on. So what we've been doing is we've been picking a band and we have been following their discography as they have kind of evolved over the years. And we're calling this the anthology series. And the first anthology series that we did was for Green Day. And we started off with Green Day's very first album, and then we went all the way up to Saviors. And it was done over the course of about 8 episodes. There was a couple albums per episode. And we just finished doing the same thing for Linkin Park. And Linkin Park is like they are my favorite band. They mean a lot to me. And so we just got to the final episode. We did it yesterday. We got to the From Zero episode. And, I thought Gu and I have been recording together for like almost 7 years. And I thought this might have been our best episode of anything that we've ever recorded because it was a heavy episode. We of course, we talked about the passing of Chester Bennington, one of the great all-time talents in the history of music, I think. We talked about how that impacted us personally. We talked about Mike Shinoda releasing Post Traumatic, the album, as kind of like a group therapy session for Linkin Park fans. We talked about what kind of happened in between. Some of the resurgent, like the Lost Meteor tracks becoming available. We talked about Emily Armstrong's introduction into the band, and we talked about From Zero and where the band goes from here. So I thought it was a really great episode. I thought that it was just an amazing episode. It's the entire anthology series. So Linkin Park and Green Day, you could get it for $2. Like $2. We'll get you access to all those episodes, and we're gonna keep it going. So we picked our next band. And I was campaigning for Avril Lavigne, but actually, in fact, what we're going to do is the Gorillaz, which I'm really excited about because I'm not really a big, like, I should say I'm not a Gorillaz fan. I'm just unfamiliar with a lot of their stuff. So this is going to be really cool, I think, for me to get into. But I did want to just campaign a little bit for that Linkin Park episode. I just thought it was a really special episode for me personally as a big Linkin Park, Chester Bennington fan, and I think it's worth your $2 if you are a fan, and easily a fan of Linkin Park, or if you're a fan of music and whatever. I think it was a great episode.
Yeah, that's a hell of a pitch. Now I want to watch that episode. That sounds awesome.
Yeah,
or not just that episode, but like that whole series. I mean, like that sounds like right up my alley. So yeah, I'm very excited to check that out for sure, and definitely like. I know how much Linkin Park means to you, and so I know for sure, like, I'm really, excited to see you, kind of go through, that entire band's history, really, really dissect it, pick it apart, and give your thoughts on it. That's awesome.
What do you think your band would be if you were to do, like, an anthology series like that? Who would be your first band that you'd want to cover? I was thinking, like, AC/DC, is that it?
That's definitely one. So AC/DC would definitely be a good contender. I don't really have a favorite band. That's the thing. AC/DC is like definitely an important band for me because that's like one of the bands that like really got me like obsessed with music. Like, I'd heard like a bunch of bands that I loved, Doobie Brothers, Van Halen, but like there was something about hearing TNT on the radio for the first time. It was, it was dirty. It wasn't clean. It felt very. It felt very, yeah. And so, there was something about that AC/DC sound, like hearing that for the first time as a kid, that was just like, whoa, I've never heard anything like that before. And that just like totally resonated with me. Yeah, AC/DC is a good contender. Static X is a good contender for me. Megadeth.
Okay.
Dr. Dre is another good contender for me.
It's funny you say that because that was my other pitch too.
I was gonna say, granted, there's only 3 albums really to work with, and maybe some single releases, but still, like, I feel like,
I kind of pitched that Dr. Dre as like you could do it in 2 episodes. Maybe you do like the Chronic and some of like the early '90s. Maybe you could do 3, 1 per, but I think that'd be great too.
I would honestly, another good one I think you could do is I think you can combine Ice-T's solo records and the Body Count records. I would do that and kind of do that as an all-in-one right there. I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah, I think I pitched Wu-Tang as well would be a great one.
That's a good one. Rage Against the Machine, Run the Jewels. Those are 2 that I'd love to do.
For me, I don't know if you've heard of this band. They're really big in Canada, probably big in the United States too. But Our Lady Peace would be one for me that I would love to do. I don't know how. I don't know if like a lot of Americans are familiar with them, but they're fantastic.
Was that the band you were telling me that you and Sam saw recently, or was that someone else?
Yeah. We just saw a piece recently.
I was gonna say that name sounded familiar. Yeah.
There's a Canadian rap group called Swollen Members, which is they're like so awesome. They have like a really neat story, which is going to be cool too. So you know what? We'll see. We're doing one of these once a month, so maybe we'll take a pause after Gorillas. I'm not sure, but it's a cool series, and like Linkin Park obviously is pretty big for me. So we had a lot of great discussion, and particularly like the final episode, and there's a lot of things that we didn't shy away from. Like we talked about there was a controversy when Emily Armstrong was announced. And we talked about that. There was some of the stuff that Mike was doing in between with NFTs and stuff. We touched on that as well.
I do remember that. Yeah.
And I mean, like I love them, so I'm going to preface that. But we certainly don't. It's not just like a big old love fest. We do kind of dig into the album. So wanted to throw that out there for anybody. And I guess we should keep our recommendations coming here, because Doom, as I understand, you also wanted to campaign for something here before we started the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, so one of the big events this weekend is saw this movie you might have heard of called Sinners, and I'm just going to cut straight to the chase. This is, without question, my film of the year so far, and I'm going to be honest, I don't see any film topping this. Obviously, we still got a lot of the year left to go, so anything can happen. Man, this movie just absolutely floored me. It's one of those movies where it's like, I genuinely cannot think of a single flaw with it. There is not a single thing that I would change. The dialogue, the characters, the setting, the action, the thematic elements, everything just coalesces and mixes together so perfectly. And I was invested from start to finish. It takes turns that I didn't expect as well. There's also, and try not to cringe too hard, there's a couple of post-credit scenes, and I know you're thinking, oh, post-credits, comic book, MCU. These are high post, especially that the mid-credits scene, actually genuinely like such a phenomenal way to quote unquote end the movie, if you ask me. But I won't give any spoilers. Andy, you told me before we recorded you're going to see it next weekend.
Yeah.
I cannot recommend this movie enough. Please go support this movie. See it in a movie theater with some friends. You're going to have an absolute blast. I guarantee it.
I think it looks awesome. And to be honest with you, I've actually only seen like one trailer for it, so I barely even remember what it's about, which I'm totally fine with. Like, I just want to go see it. I can't think of honestly, I don't even think I've seen a movie this year. Like, I can't think of anything that's come out. I think the last movie I saw
a couple of movies.
I saw Nosferatu, but I think that was in late December.
Yeah, that came out like around Christmas time, I want to say. Yeah, I saw a couple of smaller movies. I saw Mickey 17 with Robert Pattinson, and then I saw that Looney Tunes movie as well, The Day the Earth Blew Up. So yeah, those were all right, but like Sinners though, like absolute W.
Well, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing that like big time actually. So yeah, I saw the trailer also for the new Jordan Peele movie, which also looks awesome. So I'm excited for that.
Oh yeah,
I think that comes out late this year, so that might be some competition for it. But yeah, we'll see. All right, so we put out a call for Metroid questions this week, and there was a bunch of Metroid questions in our Discord already, actually, which we had been meaning to get to. One thing that I am going to throw out there for everybody is that if you are looking to ask us questions and you're not on Blue Sky, you're not a member of our Discord, leave a comment on the episode on Spotify. That's what we did over on the ZeldaCast. We had a ton of engagement over there, so if you leave a comment, we'll read it. And we do have a bunch of questions to get into, but before we do that, we should go over the nightmare, the horror scene, the absolute just dark tunnel that was Wednesday night trying to pre-order a Nintendo Switch 2. And I don't know if you guys touched on it last week. I didn't get a chance to listen to the episode, but where we left off last time I was on the show is, as I don't believe we had a firm pre-order date yet. And in
Correct.
that time, there was announced, okay, it's going to be April 24th, and it's going to be at midnight. So, and that was midnight on the East Coast, so it was 9 o'clock for you, 10 o'clock for me. So I'm waiting, and you know what? I got to say, like, I was pretty confident that like the stock is going to be there, and I still am, by the way. So like, if you didn't pre-order a Switch 2, I feel pretty confident that you're going to be able to get one. But that being said, the initial mad rush to get these, oh my god. Like, I don't know about you, man, but like, for me, I thought that Wednesday night was like the biggest catastrophe. Like, I'm trying not to curse here, but like, it was a Charlie Foxtrot, if you know what I mean. Like, it was, look, I was like, I'm stunned that in 2025, that ordering something online could be this cumbersome. And I don't really know whose fault it is. Like, I don't know if it's the fault of any of the various retailers, which we could talk about. I don't know if it's the fault of Nintendo. I don't know if it's just like one of those things where the demand is just like so high that no matter how much preparation you do, it's going to be a disaster. But I thought that this was just like an absolute schmoz trying to get a pre-order for the Switch 2. And I went to bed that night with none, and I woke up the next day and had two. So there it is. How was your experience? And I'll detail my experience more here in a second, but how was your experience trying to pre-order a Switch 2? Was it as painful as what I've just described?
It was definitely painful, but I'm surprised to say this. It was actually a lot better than I expected on my end, at least. Because honestly, I was expecting, like, for those who don't know my situation, so initially, I was supposed to work a morning shift that day, and so I was like, oh, I get off 3 hours before pre-orders go live in my territory, so I'm gonna be home in time. I'm gonna have Target pulled up, because I got the red card, so I can get 5% off, which is only like $25, but whatever. So I was like ready to go. I'm like, I'm gonna be prepped. I'm gonna be spamming the hell out of my F5 key. Let's do this. And then they changed my shift, and they're like, "Psych, you're working an evening shift now." And so I was like,
boo.
"Damn!" And our Lowe's internet is awful. So I'm like, "Well, there goes my Target pre-order. I guess that's not happening." Well, I went into the break room about 3 minutes before 9, and yeah, sure enough, like right when pre-orders went live, the app crashed, as you would expect, and I had to refresh the page, go back, and do all sorts of little shenanigans. But at 9:04 p.m., I was able to get my Switch 2 through. Somehow
Wow.
brute forced my way through the Target app. I didn't get the thing that scared me though is I didn't get the email confirmation for a while. So I was like, I kept checking my email, refreshing the page on my break. Nothing popped up, and finally I was like, okay, I gotta get back to work. There's nothing I can do at this point. Either I got it or I didn't. I walked out at about 11 p.m. to my car, checked my phone, and I saw that email confirmation, and I literally like jumped in the air. I was so excited, and I've been checking my email and my order receipt on Target because I've heard some people getting their pre-orders canceled. As of right now, I have not gotten my pre-order canceled. Obviously, we'll be monitoring that closely and seeing what happens. That's kind of my last fear in the back of my mind. But as of right now, I have a Switch 2 Mario Kart World Edition bundle pre-ordered.
There you go.
And yeah, so very excited and happy about that.
That sounds, yeah, like fairly painless, which surprises me a little bit. My experience was quite different. So we started off and we had so we don't have Target in Canada. They came here and they were a complete flop, so they left. And so and by the way, Best Buy also did not go live at midnight. They went live at like 8:15 the next day. Like, they were super late. Obviously, Amazon isn't doing them at all because they're beefing with Nintendo. So our options were, and GameStop was the same. They didn't start their pre-orders for us until the following day at 8. So we were pretty limited. We had Walmart, we had London Drugs, and we had Costco actually, and Costco like set their pre-orders live like at least an hour early. So they were live at like 7:30, and I was like, what? And so I'm desperately trying to get it from Costco, not working. Going to Walmart, not working. And I'm flipping back and forth, F5ing. And I had no problem getting it in my cart at all. Like, I had it in my cart. I had credit card details ready to go for both Costco and Walmart. And nope, it was just like, oh, something was wrong. There's an error. And I was just like, oh my God. And I heard that you guys had like a really effective queue system for Walmart in the States. We did not have
so
that.
I didn't try. Yeah, I didn't try Walmart, so I can't say that with my own experience, but like from what other people told me, there was like a queue system. At least it seemed to be good after like the first 30 minutes to an hour. It seemed like it was pretty painful up until then.
And we had the queue for Best Buy as well. So but they didn't start till the next day. And that was like pretty, I thought that worked like pretty well. But yeah, I went to bed that night and I was like, whatever, like it's 11 o'clock. Like, I just want to chill out, watch Castlevania. Like, I'm whatever. I'm not that concerned. So I went to bed, and the next day I'm like working, and as you probably know, like my job doesn't really allow me to do anything kind of to the side. I don't have a lot of downtime, so I'm doing my thing. But Sam, my beautiful, amazing, lovely wife, is checking all day for me, and she's trying Best Buy, she's trying GameStop, she's trying whatever, and shout out to Dominique, Doom GC on the Omega Metroid team. Me and him were chatting, and he gave me an account to follow on Blue Sky, which is like posting. It's like the Wario 64 for Canadian outlets. And so this guy's like, here's a GameStop link, and it shows you what your local GameStop like has in stock. And I look, like every single one of my local GameStop says they have Switch 2s, and I was like, what? So I phoned, and I was like, there's no way this is right. So I phoned the closest one, which is like 10 minutes away, and I was like, do you actually have Switch 2s? And they're like, oh yeah, we got like 30 bundles. Like, you want one? Come down. And so I couldn't, but Sam, who is amazing, was just like, I'm on lunch. I'll go right now. She had to wait for about an hour because they were doing a ticket system, but she went in, bought it, no problem. We paid it off. I just like bought it right there.
Yep.
So yeah, we've got one Switch, and then later in the day, it's kind of like what you were saying. So we tried Best Buy earlier. We clicked submit, but we got no confirmation email, like nothing. So just figured it didn't go through. Checked my credit card, nothing went through. And like 8 hours later, I got like a confirmation email. It's like, hey, you got a Switch 2. Congrats. So I was like, well, I guess I got 2. So I'm gonna hold on to both, and then I'll probably just sell, and obviously not sell for any up. I'll sell it for exactly what I paid for it. But if I get 2, I'll just sell the other one. I'm sure there will be people out there looking for Switch 2s. So at least as of right now, that's how it was. But I don't know, man. Like, I was like, there has to be a better system than this, you know? And I don't know what that is. And I don't know whose fault it was, but like multiple people on Wednesday night were just like, this is just a complete schmoz.
I mean, I agree, but at the same time, it was kind of what I was expecting at the. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. My bar was pretty low, but then again, I also had like a much different experience than most people did. I only had to go through 4 minutes of torture, whereas a lot of people had to go through hours of torture. Some people didn't even get a Switch 2, which is very, very unfortunate. I will say, apparently, I did want to do a GameStop in-store pre-order just because like it's been. I kind of miss, waiting outside of a store, camping out, socializing with other people. But unfortunately, I had work in the morning. Literally had to close her and followed by an opener. Not fun, but so yeah, couldn't do that. But yeah, from what I heard, like the GameStop in-store pre-orders went extremely smoothly, like across the board.
You know what the thing about? Okay, I'm gonna offend some people here, but like the thing about GameStop pre-orders, and you work there, you probably know this as well. When people come in to do their thing and they trade their video games and stuff, the customers that come in just like they just want to like sit there and tell stories and have a good time and chat, and it's like it's like, move, get out of the line, like, come on, I've been in here an hour already, let's go.
There's a certain ludicrous song that I'm thinking of right now.
Yes, indeed. Yes, got something hanging from my necklace. But yeah, it's just like, I remember I did that actually for Tears of the Kingdom. I went in and did the midnight release, which was like super fun. But then when you actually like get in there and like people are talking about their like, oh yeah, I was playing Breath of the Wild and did the infinite bomb jump skip blast. It's like, God, come on, get it going here.
Just buy the game. Don't you want to play this game?
Yes, that's the worst, man. Like, and anytime I'm ever in GameStop and I see someone whip out like 3 old Xbox games, they're like, I want to trade this in. I'm just like, oh no, Oh no, this is gonna add like at least triple the time to this interaction. But anyways, it was all good. So I better shout out one final time, Samantha. I love you very much. Thank you for going to get me a Switch 2. Actually, for getting me two Switch 2s, really. So yeah, it worked out. And yeah, I don't know. Like I mean, you're right. Like it's just kind of like I was saying. Like I don't know if it's anyone's fault necessarily. It's just like one of those things where the demand is so, like so huge. Like I mean, Nintendo said they did 2.2 million units in Japan. Is that right?
That is correct. They 2.2 pre-orders in Japan, which. You mentioned that like you weren't concerned about Switch 2 allocation. I am, because 2.2 is like a staggering amount. First off,
that is.
It's way more than they anticipated. Second of all, the Switch 1 sold 2.7 million pre-orders worldwide when it was coming out. Switch 2 sold 2.2 in Japan alone, which is, believe it or not, one of the smaller territories where, Nintendo sells their hardware and software. Which, you think is weird. It's our home turf, but it's like, it's just a much smaller population density than like a lot of the other territories like Europe and North America. And so yeah, I think launch window, it's gonna be tough for at least a few months, but at least as of right now, all three of us have our pre-orders secured. No cancellations yet. My roommate was also able to get a Best Buy pre-order that night as well. So yeah, hopefully we all make it to the finish line, pun not intended, because I am ready for some Mario Kart World.
Yes, I got the bundle. I think it's going to be great. I will say, I did see that all of the Costco pre-orders were canceled the next day. So I'm glad that I didn't get mine. But you know what? The other thing too is that you still have the NSO membership pre-order coming out on May the 8th. So if you didn't get your pre-order and you're an NSO membership, you will have that opportunity. I feel like I'm not like super concerned. I think Nintendo probably knew that day one was going to be a schmoz. I think they were factoring in the scalpers into their. I think there's more inventory to be released. So hopefully, maybe I'm just being optimistic.
So.
I don't know.
Yeah, I hope you're right, but I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Okay, well, let us know your horror stories out there for all you listeners, and if you were successful getting a Switch 2 or not. We'll have to stream some Mario Kart. I mean, we got to do it. If all of us are playing that game, I think that's a must. So yes, very very exciting. Let's get over to our questions here that we asked everybody to send. And actually, Doom, I wonder, like, maybe before we get to the questions, I know that you had some things from last week that you wanted to for me to weigh in on, and like I said, I apologize. I haven't got a chance to listen to the episode. Is there anything that you wanted to touch on, or should we just get straight to these questions?
One of them actually kind of ties into Parky Man's question, which we'll definitely be answering this episode. So we'll kind of wait for that. But I know you had some thoughts about this kind of fan theory that's been going around Metroid Prime 4. There isn't really a question addressing that, so I thought maybe we could talk about that, because I think we're not quite on the same page there at the moment.
Yeah, totally. Well, I'll tell you. Why don't you outline that theory, and I'll give you my initial reaction to it.
Mm-hmm. So I don't want to say, I'm not gonna say that Dak and I were the progenitor of this theory, but I did see a lot of people talking about it sometime after the podcast went out. I'm sure it's probably just a coincidence, but nonetheless, Dak and I, we were just kind of spitballing, specifically because one of the story details we were interested in was, these new fusion Metroids, which, they latch on to organic matter and seem to take over them. They merge together to create something new. And one of the things that I thought is, like, what would happen if you combine one of those fusion Metroids with the Lamorn? That sounds like something pretty bad. And we kind of started spitballing, and eventually Dak pointed out, hey, the Lamorn, they have kind of some design similarities to the Metroid Prime core. And I was like, what if that is, and we kind of started spitballing, and it's like, what if that is like, kind of the big twist of Metroid Prime 4 is like, because you know, Metroid Prime 4 it seems to be taking place in this, you know, offshoot, you know, kind of space and time. What if this is like how Metroid Prime is created, and it's like this thing that like originates, you know, in this pocket of time in the past. The Fusion Metroid is what like actually creates it. And, you know, because initially when I was going into Metroid Prime 4, I was like, maybe there will be some passing references to the Prime trilogy, but I think this is going to be something brand new that we haven't seen before. This could actually be, in my opinion at least, a really clever way to like link in that original Metroid Prime story, and also a really cool way to address some plot inconsistencies in that game as well. Particularly, you know, how does a Metroid end up on Phase and transported to Talon 4 before the Metroids are even created on an SR388? That's a really awesome way to address that, I think. And I don't know. I know you were talking in the Discord and you weren't quite sold on it, so I kind of want to hear your opinions on it. Because literally, Dak and I were even joking around, like, man, we're agreeing too much. We need Andy here to shut us down right now.
you need the voice of dissent. You know, and I want to lead off. So one of the first things I said in Discord is like, I could actually see this. Like, it's not that I think it's like not possible in like the context of the world and the lore. Like, I think that is as likely as maybe anything else, really. Like, so I do want to say, like, I'm not dismissing the possibility of it happening, because like, yeah, there are some aspects of it that certainly make sense. Like, it is strange how a Metroid would have been in the impact crater. My interpretation was that Metroid was on Talon 4 and just happened to get stuck down there before then. But even then, it kind of doesn't make sense, because it's like, well, why was the Metroid there? Like, I mean, there are Talon Metroids, but like, did the Chozo create that? I don't know. So like, I will say that could make sense. And obviously there are some visual similarities between, you know, the Lamorn and Metroid Prime, like the core of Metroid Prime itself. So I do want to lead off and just saying that, like, I'm not like against the theory in terms of its plausibility. I think that I think that's as likely as anything else, to be honest at this point. I guess like my initial thought was like, you know, like I do think I'm, and it's not that I don't like the theory, but I do think that I'm just kind of like ready for, like you said, like a little bit of a fresh start, and not a fresh start in a sense, but like I'm ready for something like beyond like beyond Metroid Prime the creature. Like I'm ready for a step in that new direction, and this to me would be cool, like in the sense like maybe it could link back, but if it was like a big focus of the game, like I don't know if I'd love that. Like I don't know if I would love the idea of like refighting Metroid Prime like again, like the core Metroid Prime. I kind of feel like we've been there, done that, and then I think like if we're, because the other part of it too was like if we are dealing with time travel, and somehow the Fusion Metroid here, you know, morphs into with the Lamorn, and somehow that is how everything kind of happens. And I don't know, maybe if Vuros turns into the planet phase, who knows? But like if this is truly how like everything begins, and that Leviathan gets sent back to Phazon, or to Talon 4 again, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, like do we just like fight the Metroid Prime again? Like, does it, or do we defeat it here and that just stops those events from ever occurring? I think that there's like a lot that can get really messy when you do time travel stuff like that. So I guess for me, I'm just like, I just want like a cool new story with a cool new race. Maybe they're a friend, maybe they're a foe, and we've got Silex here. Like that, I feel like that's kind of like enough for me. I don't know for me that I necessarily need to get like too cutesy with the callbacks and stuff like that. If they could do it and it works out in a cool way, like I'm on board with it. But I guess my initial reaction was like, maybe I could do without, just on like the basis of that theory. And I guess like one other final thing I'd add is like, I do see, we had a member of our Discord share this who's an awesome member, but maybe like a bit of a literal member, and like when I say that, I mean like a lot of people think because it's a Metroid Prime title that you need to have like Metroid Prime the creature, and I don't think that at all.
Totally agree. You don't need it. Yeah.
And also like when they were just like, oh well, maybe there's with the Metroid Mock Droids, it's like, yes, they look like Machtroids, but like again, like this is just something new. It's something that we could just create. Like we don't need to. I don't know. I guess that's that's something I thought.
Yeah, we talked about this on the podcast even, like, at least the little prologue refers to them as Metroids, so at least as of right now, there's no evidence that those are Machtroids, other than, like, the design similarities. And I should point out, like, I'm not even necessarily convinced about, you know, the Lamorn and Metroid Fusion create, you know, Metroid Prime. I'm not even necessarily convinced that's what's going to happen. I just think right now, like, hey, I can see some similarities there, and I think that there's a lot of potential to make a really cool story moment out of that. Not even necessarily the story, but like a really cool twist and a story moment that, like, it connects back to the first Metroid Prime. It addresses like a really critical story detail, in my opinion, that otherwise seemingly seems contradictory to what we know so far. It's clever. I think it has more potential to succeed than it does to fail, at least, which is, for me at least, is saying a lot, because I'm usually pretty skeptical when it comes to time travel. But this actually, at least to me, seems like a really cool idea. I will say, I wouldn't want like a Hyrule Warriors situation where it like resets the events of Metroid Prime. I would like hopefully be like, oh, this is like the originator of the events in Metroid Prime, and there's really nothing at the end of the game that we can do, at least to stop that event from happening. That's what would be my preference. We're like seeing the origins of those events unfold. We realize that we in this pocket of time are the starting point of that, but ultimately there's nothing we can do to stop it. That's just a part of time now. That's like in time. But yeah, that would be my preference. But again, we wouldn't even know if like that theory is even a part of the game or not.
And it gets tough when you're dealing with time travel, because like I guess like and again, like I'm not like against that theory necessarily, but like to me it's like, okay, well, like if we, because it almost kind of reminds me of like Prometheus in Aliens a little bit, like the creating of the xenomorph at the end there. But to me it's like, okay, well there's kind of like, at least off the top of my head, two possibilities I can think of. Number one is like you Age of Calamity it, where you do defeat this Metroid Prime in the past, and it's like, well, this just messes everything up that we know. Or number two, the events unfold exactly how they're supposed to, Terminator 3 style. But then it's like, well, like does this reset what we already did in Metroid Prime? Does it cheapen those events a little bit, because now they're, I don't know. And I guess it's a matter of how they tell the story. So there is potential for this to work, but I do think that there is also potential for it to be like kind of lame too. So I think that it's just like, be careful.
Most definitely, there is potential for it to be lame. At least to me, I feel like there's more potential for it to succeed, but also that's just my opinion. We were also, some other people in the Discord chimed in, and they just didn't like the idea at all of a Metroid fusing with Lamorn to create Metroid Prime. They're like, no, I prefer Metroid Prime just kind of being a creature. I don't like, this whole fusion thing. Let's just keep our hands off that. So yeah, it's
I think that's
definitely a lot
cool
of opinions
idea,
across
actually.
the,
like the fusing.
I love the idea. Especially because like also there's another aspect of like Metroid Prime 2 that we talked about. The when you scan the exoskeleton, you can see like facial features like eyes and a nose and all that, and that was also something that's like been a mystery. Like, why does this Metroid have like these almost human like facial features? That's another way that you could explain that. But again, just a theory, a game theory.
I would say this. I'd be absolutely down to fight a sort of Metroid Prime-ish looking creature that was fused with Lamorn, but not the Metroid Prime.
Like a prototype.
Sure, yeah. And I mean, who knows? Is Vuras an alternate reality? Like, if it is, like, this could work a lot better. So there's a lot of details I could add to that would make it...
I do also wonder, kind of going more into that story theory. We talked about when we were talking about the key art, these seemingly looking Chozo statues that are surrounding the area. I'm fully on board that those are Chozo statues. That I am convinced about because of their designs. I do wonder if like, because both the Lamorn, they refer to Samus as the chosen one, and we also know the Chozo on Talon 4 prophesize Samus as well. I almost wonder if like these Chozos were almost trying to stop this Lamorn prophecy from happening because
Maybe.
Samus awakening Metroid Prime is a part of theirs. I don't know. Again, I'm just spitballing here.
That's some deep stuff. I mean, maybe like
Yeah.
there is some potential to tell a pretty cool story there. And it would be kind of interesting to have the Lamorn be more of a like Shades of Grey type of supporting race, I guess, rather than like just the obvious good guys that were the Chozo or the Luminoth or whatever, right? Even the Galactic Federation in Prime 3. So I'm not against it, but I need to be sold a little bit more on it, I guess, is what I'm saying. All right, well, let's do some of these questions. We got a lot to go through here. Man, we've been going for a long time already. I can't believe it. So let's get to it, Doom. You're right. I think let's you know what? Let's just ask them both separately. We got a couple different ones from Harkyman here, and we'll start with his one from Blue Sky. If you worked in Nintendo's marketing team, what would you do to ensure Metroid Prime 4 was a success?
First thing that I would do is I would release a demo. I think games with demo, at least in my personal experience, demos have like made a difference of me, not just buying a game, but like becoming a fan of a series. And you know, the game that really sticks out to me is Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I had never touched a Pikmin game before. I didn't really find the art style appealing. The gameplay, I was like, it looks all right, but I don't know if it's for me. But you know, they released a demo, and you know, I as a Metroid fan, I know how much I want people to try my games, and I know Pikmin fans were in a similar boat. So I'm like, you know what? I have a free demo. I have no excuse. I'm going to give Pikmin fans the benefit of the doubt because that's what I would want someone to do with the Metroid game. So I tried out Pikmin 3 Deluxe, the demo. I ended up really loving it. I own all 4 of the mainline games now, and I am a certified Pikmin enjoyer now. Pikmin 4, I think, is one of the best games on the Nintendo Switch as well. Absolutely phenomenal game, which I'm sure you and I both agree on. And so
Yeah.
I think a demo for Metroid Prime 4 similarly, and you know, it's really easy. You could just do, you know, that introductory sequence that's been that they've been touring on with the Treehouse and on the, you know, the Switch 2 tour demos that have been going across the world. I think that would be, you know, a really good gameplay slice, just to give people, you know, a small morsel, you know, on, you know, what they can expect, what it's like controlling Samus in first person. If you're on the Switch 2, you could try out those mouse controls as well. And so that would be my first thing is, you know, don't give the people an excuse not to try Metroid Prime 4.
I think
do
like,
a demo,
particularly that opening like cutscene that you said, like though that opening cutscene with the gunship was so impressive. I thought like
so good.
Let people who own like 4K TVs like play that, and they're gonna be like, holy
Yes.
crap! Like I'm gonna buy this. I 100% agree, and I would add on to that as well. Like stick with what's worked before too. Like I thought the Dread reports were an awesome way to build up excitement for Metroid Dread. I think you want like something at least weekly, if not like take a page from Smash Bros. And do like a daily, like this is this enemy, like this is a new enemy, or like this is a new item, or like this is a new area, or this is a new scan, or whatever. Like show the game and drip feed it and get people excited about it. Like I would do a Dread report style release like once a week for probably like 3 months before the game officially comes out. So like I'd start that pretty quick. And build up some hype too, and show off like some of the things that make Metroid fantastic, like the ginormous boss fights, like the crazy expansions, like show that stuff off, like and obviously like effective trailers and marketing as well, and spending money, like that's you know, that's not the sexy thing to say, but like that, I mean, that's it right there.
Yeah. I'm also gonna answer this question very literally, so that way I can answer Harky's second Discord question later on a little bit differently. But I'm going off of this not as like what I would have done, but like what I would do with the marketing going forward from this point. Because there's definitely, and we'll talk about it later, some things that I would have changed from the initial reveal. But yeah, another thing, and this I do think is going to happen. I think for our next trailer, I want to see a traditional style trailer. We've gotten a couple of extended gameplay sequences. We've gotten the Treehouse demo, which have all been fantastic. But like, I want to see a traditional style trailer that like really conglomerates like various aspects of at least, you know, kind of that first fourth to third of that game, that kind of conglomerates it all together and really shows like what this game is about. You know, show off some crazy new abilities that we haven't seen. We've gotten a little taste of the psychic abilities, but it's very clear that Nintendo is still holding a lot of that stuff close to their chest. I want to see some absolutely crazy stuff that we've never seen in a Metroid Prime game before. You know, we were speculating, you know, the environments, that desert environment on the key art and the implications of that. I want to see, you know, a little bit of that in action. You know, what's that, you know, what's this unprecedented level of exploring, you know, if that is accurate, what's that going to look like? And obviously I assume we'll get some more story details. I'm pretty good on the story for now, so I could give or take on that, but it's mostly like I want to see, you know, more of those abilities, maybe even, you know, some combat encounters that we haven't seen in Metroid, just, you know, and have that all together in like a really nice, well-presented traditional trailer. I think that would do this game a lot of favors.
And I mean, like, I think that's coming. Like, I've seen a lot of fans
Yeah.
like, really like on edge, and it's like, guys, like for example, when I say to you the Breath of the Wild trailer, which one do you think of?
The January trailer.
Exactly, and that came out like 2 months before the game came out, right? Like, and it was the greatest Nintendo trailer I've ever seen. So like, I would lean in on the story with this. I think story is what really sells the games. Like, it's particularly like in a trailer. Like, gameplay obviously is great for a demo, but stories is what I would focus on here, while still showing
I'm
off
sure
like
we're
like the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And I'm sure we're going to get more story details in the June Direct trailer or whatever the next time we see it is.
So yeah, I mean, like obviously there's like an awesome trailer coming. I mean, like, keep in mind, like, going back to Breath of the Wild, like, we didn't see Zelda, we didn't see any other character other than Link until 2 months before the game came out, right? So like, we're already kind of ahead of the curve here on Metroid Prime 4. I am very confident that that's coming, and I mean, really, like, all it takes is like one awesome trailer, right? Like, and that changes the direction.
It does kind of remind me of Tears of the Kingdom in a way, where that game, like, for the longest time, it held so much close to its chest, and like, even I remember you were even getting annoyed. It's like, what is the point of this game? Like, where's the real hook? And then finally, I think Anuma came out with that with like the Ultra Hand.
They had to
trailer,
do it direct afterwards because their initial trailer was so poor to reveal it. That's what you don't want to do, but what you do, like, hire the people that made that Breath of the Wild trailer is my answer. Like, they made an awesome trailer. Get whoever did that and get them to do Metroid Prime 4. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm certainly not opposed.
All right, let's move on. Majora 38. In the next Smash, why does everybody say if they make one? They're obviously going to keep making Smash Bros. Games. In the next Smash Bros, will they use Dread Suit Samus or Prime 4 Varia?
This is an interesting question. So my gut wants to say Dread Suit, just because, at least as of right now, every single Smash suit that we've seen has originated in the 2D games. I guess technically Other M is a 3D game, but like it's in that Sakamoto kind of, you know, it's in that Sakamoto territory. Because yeah, Smash 64 Melee was the super suit. Brawl used the Zero Mission Varia suit, which you only get to see for like 2 seconds before you get the Gravity suit. And then of course Smash 4 and Ultimate use the Other M suit. So at least as of right now, and then also the Spirit that's used for that is the Samus Returns suit in Ultimate. But I guess it's not unprecedented because we do also have, you know,
it's both.
Yeah,
both are going to be there. Like that.
I sure hope so. That would be awesome. I hope the next Smash game just goes absolutely crazy on alternate costumes and Samus gets like all sorts of different suits to swap. I'm not necessarily convinced on that, but yeah, if we had to pick with one or the other, my gut is telling me Dread Suit, but at the same time, like, maybe Prime 4 is the more relevant game at that point. Smash 4, the next, I mean, we know Sakurai is working on Kirby Air Riders right now, and you know, by the time he does start working on the next Smash, you know, assuming that he is going to direct the next one, I would imagine Prime 4 is already going to be well out at that point. So maybe it's the most relevant game at that point, and we have that 2D suit precedent broken. But as of right now, I'm going to go with the Dread Suit.
I'll take Prime 4. Like, I think you want the Varia suit for continuity. I don't think it matters if it's 2D or Prime or whatever. Like, I think you want the Varia suit there for familiarity, but like, I would expect, like, the next Smash game, like, and you already see this in Smash Ultimate, like, there's lots of alternate costumes in that game already that change the poses, change the, like, I would expect that you could, I think the Dread Suit will definitely be an option for you. I think that like there's probably going to be a couple of different suits for all these different characters, or a couple different options, and there should be, like, that should have been something that came in Brawl, not all these years later. So I
mean technically. You did technically see it a little bit in Brawl, because Wario, you could switch between the biker and the traditional overalls, but that was about it. That's all you got in Brawl.
And they made a special exception for that one too. I remember they said, like, only Wario could do this.
Yeah, and then Smash 4, they expanded it a little more. Ultimate, they expanded it a little more, but like,
yeah,
I don't know. I hope they go ham in Smash 6, but like, they should have already been going ham with it. Like, even they could have. I'm usually against microtransactions, dude. They could have microtransaction the hell out of those costumes, and I would have bought every single one of them, even for the characters I don't care about. Like, that's just easy money right there.
I think like, if you're looking at the key art for, how all the characters have their key art or whatever, I think it'll be the Varisuit, but I would be like shocked if the Dread suit wasn't an option as well. So yeah, we'll see. Next question is from Simu. Where is Weevil? Dead on
Metroid Prime 4.
Yeah, he's somewhere in the Alevic cluster somewhere. I don't know. But he didn't have a ship, so he's probably still on Alanos somewhere or something. I don't know.
Well, no. So all the hunters, if you get the true ending, you can see all the hunters escaping oubliettes. So they're all alive and well as far as we know. But yeah, I don't expect that we're gonna see. Expect we're gonna see Weevil this time.
By the way, we have some Metroid Prime Hunter stuff coming on the website on OmegaMetroid.com, like imminently. So, and I know we've been teasing it for a while, but we will have this coming. I don't know. I feel like of the hunters, like taking out Silex, of course, like Weevil seems to be the fan favorite. So I wouldn't say it's impossible, maybe, that you could see this character show up in some kind of capacity in future games, but
he's definitely the next. He's definitely the next in line if they do decide to add more Hunters characters in the future, for sure. Like outside of Silex, he's probably, he has the closest connection to both Samus and the Metroid universe, being a former space pirate that literally fought Samus in Nestroid Zero Mission. So yeah, definitely some potential in the future. But
I never saw him, but anyways.
I mean, I blasted quite a bit of pirates in that final escape sequence.
I mean, I did too, but none of them looked like they were particularly elite, like Weevil's supposed to be. So, we'll see. I wouldn't be.
I don't know. Those gray pirates were tougher than the final boss. So I don't know. Maybe he was one of those.
That's true. Although they did say that you fought him in Brinstar, and the space pirates in Brinstar are.
Yeah.
Not your elite space pirates, let's just say. I think it could be a cool homage to maybe have a scan or something in Metroid Prime 4 with some of the Hunter details, but I don't know. And I've been warming up actually to Metroid Prime Hunters a lot since I've been working Metroid Prime Hunters is the game that I've played the most in the last 6 months for sure. But there's still something about the Hunters that are just missing that kind of, I don't know, special quality that makes me be like, man, I want to see this character again.
I think so. My opinion is, obviously, like, right now they're pretty flat one-dimensional characters. They have like a paragraph or two for being kind of lore, but much like Silex, I think there's a lot of potential to really extrapolate and really like build on top of these foundations to create cool characters. Weevil is definitely one that I think there's a lot of like really cool stuff that you can do with there. But again, I also don't need it. I'm not the fact we even are seeing, Silex in Metroid Prime 4 is already like, holy crap, like this is actually happening. So I'm already like super on board with that. If we do get some other stuff, that's cool too, but I am more than satisfied with what we're being fed with at the moment.
I have to say, not to linger on this question for too long, but like I have to say, of all of the Hunters, I think the one that I would be most interested in seeing come back, and somewhere out there this man is smiling, but I think it would be Spire, actually, like on his quest to find his people. Like I feel like that's kind of like a neat little story that they have. Like they'd have to expand it a ton, of course, but like yeah, I don't know. I'd be down to see where that led. Noxus coming back would be neat as well. All right, let's move on. This next one is from Dreaded. These psychic abilities seem really cool. However, if our theories are correct, this game seems to be taking place after Prime 3, before the Metroid Genocide in Samus Returns. That's such a great term, the Metroid Genocide. And far before Samus awakens her Metroid abilities in Metroid Dread. In this case, how do you guys think these abilities will be taken away? Dreaded, I'll tell you exactly how they're going to be taken away, brother. Samus is going to finish the game. She's going to go to the Lamorn or whoever gave her powers. They're going to be like, thank you for saving our race. They're going to take the jewel out of her head. There goes her Samus psychic powers. That's how it's going to be.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be that. It's going to be Samus stubs her toe. They'll find some way to explain that away. In fact, we've already seen Samus give away her abilities. The end of Prime 2, Samus, I guess, like, gives back all of the Luminoth tech she acquired, because once she reappears in front of them, she is only wearing her various suit instead of the light and or dark suits. So yeah,
I don't think
can
that's
totally
a terrible
see.
ending either. Like I've saved you, but
exactly.
here's the power to defend yourself. I think that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see anything wrong with that. It could be something where, it could be something like the end of Metroid Prime, where the Phazon suit literally gets stolen or absorbed from Samus. It could be Samus voluntarily, relinquishing that power. Either way, I think there's a ton of ways that you could explain that, and I'm fine with either of those scenarios.
Yep, I think so too. All right, so Guilty Phoenix 42. What do you think the capabilities of the red and black suit are going to be? Ooh.
I don't know, but I think we're gonna see that as well in that June trailer. Yeah, because I've noticed a little theme with the trailers. The initial reveal trailer ended off with Vuros, and then the second sequence that we saw, it starts off on Vuros, but then it ends on that suit. I think that suit is going to at least lead off the next Prime 4 trailer that we see. So, and I think that suit is going to be part of, like, the crazy new things that we haven't seen in a Metroid Prime game before. So I'm very excited to see what's up there. But
it kind of depends too how the story unfolds as well, because, like, if let's just pretend that this is not time travel but like an alternate dimension, maybe that suit allows you to travel back and forth between those dimensions. Maybe the suit allows you to travel back and forth between the past and the future as well. Like, that would be really cool. It depends on what the story is, and we haven't seen as much of the story. It could also tie into the psychic powers as well. Maybe it just allows you more psychic abilities.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. It's either going to be like a time or a psychic related kind of ability. I've heard some people speculate, because it's, it looks very slim and aerodynamic. I've heard some people speculate that, like, oh, maybe this suit gives you the speed booster. I don't know if I necessarily buy that. I imagine if the speed booster was in the game, it would be like, specifically like a shoe upgrade itself. I don't think, like, you would change the entire suit to be a speed booster suit. But I
agree.
And also we've seen, like, other slim aerodynamic suits, like going back to the light suit again. That's a very slim looking suit. Does not change your movement properties at all whatsoever. It has nothing to do with movement. Other than, I guess, teleporting in those light beams. But so yeah, I don't think the suit looking aerodynamic is really, not in and of itself, indicative of what the power is going to be. Not necessarily shooting that down, but I don't think that's also an indication that that's what it's going to be either. But yeah, I'm definitely on board with you. Probably going to be a psychic or time related ability, and I'm very excited to see what that is.
I agree. All right, so our pal Harkyman has a bunch of different questions here, and I'm gonna try and space them out a little bit. But we'll start off with the doozy, and this is a long one. Will you be buying both the Switch and Switch 2 versions of Metroid Prime 4? Actually, let's just answer that quickly before we get to the rest of this question. No, I'm not going to buy the Switch 1 version. This is going to be an expensive enough game as it is. No, I don't need both.
Well, you know how crazy I am. I always buy multiple copies of Metroid games. I'll get one digital copy and then a couple of physical copies to display as well. At least in the case of Prime Remastered, when it has, like, alternate album or alternate cover art that you can choose from. I technically might get a Switch 1 and Switch 2 cut, because obviously I'm getting the game on Switch 2, obviously, but the Switch 2 edition box art, it has this ugly looking text that like blocks out like the bottom part of the box art cover. And so when I do get the sealed physical copy to display, I might just get the Switch 1 version. And so by technicality, I might actually be buying both the Switch 1 and 2 version of this game.
You know,
so,
I guess by technicality too, my intention is to probably do like a giveaway of some sorts for the show or for the website. So I you know what, and I guess I don't know. I'd probably get the Switch 2 edition, give it away for maybe I'll just put it up to the winner. Do you want Switch 1 or Switch 2? And they could just tell me. But I maybe that's pretty much the only scenario that I'll buy like 2. But yeah. Let's get to the rest of this question. Do you think Nintendo did Metroid Prime 4 dirty by going all in at the Switch Direct and being low-key with Prime 4 at the Switch 2 Direct? I am glad the game is cross-gen, but personally thought Nintendo could have presented the game more confidently to a broader audience with, say, a trailer as fun and vibey as DK Bonanza. I think this was the other major... Fair.
This was the other major thing that Dak and I were talking about last week, where it's like, man, we are agreeing too much. We need Andy to come in here.
Tell me what you guys landed on before I give you my answer.
Yeah. So there's been a big question about, has Metroid Prime 4 been marketed properly? And, there's been a lot of freakouts online. And while I'm not like at the top end of that freakout, like I don't think Metroid Prime 4 is in danger by any means. Again, Nintendo's barely scratched the surface. This marketing campaign has barely started, if anything. But Dak and I were talking, and we do agree that like I don't think it's been optimal, and we definitely would have done things a little bit differently. I wouldn't have even revealed the game. Seeing like where we're at now, I wouldn't have even revealed the game in June. I think you could have easily had Zelda as the Echoes of Wisdom as the one more thing, and I think you could have done a lot more by like saving Metroid. Imagine this. Imagine we have no idea that Prime 4 is coming. The Switch 1 Direct happens, and the one more thing is Metroid Prime 4. It's roughly the same trailer that we saw back in June of 2024, and then the Switch 2 Direct, instead of getting the psychic abilities, we get we get a little bit more of that extended sequence. We get the opening cutscene. We get to see that in 4K in the Direct this time, not in the treehouse, and then that treehouse goes more in depth into the demo. And then come June, that's where we first get the introduction of the psychic abilities and go full ham and all that. Again, I don't know if that's optimal because, again, we haven't reached June yet. Maybe by the time that we see that June Direct trailer, all of the marketing leading up to that all of a sudden makes sense. But just as of where we are right now, that's probably how I would have marketed the game. That being said, though, again, I'm not necessarily, I'm not worried by any means about this game. I'm not freaking out. We don't even have a release date on this game yet. There is still a lot of time to go. And it's also, it's different than Dread too, because Dread, I will agree, like Dread hit the ground running quite literally. Like that first trailer was insanely hype. It showed a bunch of new things. You got the slide, you got a little bit of story details, including the Chozo, the big focus on the Emmys, obviously. But also that game had a 4-month marketing window. Like the game was revealed, came out 4 months later. So obviously they had to show a little bit more. They couldn't space that out as much as you would with Prime 4.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This is, I guess, what I would say. I'm going to qualify my answer with a few things before I tell you. Number one is I do think that Metroid fans you need to take a breath. The game is going to be marketed. You're going to get a great trailer. Everything's going to be okay. And I understand it. I think we're all invested in the success of this game, and we're all nervous about the success of this game after what happened. Everything's going to be fine in terms of like the game when it comes out. Even if it underperforms sales-wise, it's still going to be fine. This won't be the last Metroid game ever made. Like, I think that's what I want to preface my answer with. I hate to disappoint you, Doom, but I actually, my roadmap would have been identical. I would, and I said this, I said this when we got that reveal of Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, almost like feels like a year ago at this point. I would have been like, you know what? I would have saved this for the Switch 2 Direct, personally. But we didn't, I think that's okay.
I wouldn't even necessarily save this for the Switch 2, because I think you could have done this as the one more thing for the Switch 1 Direct.
Yeah, like that, and this is what I would have done is I would have not revealed it at all, like for the Switch, like at all. I would have saved it for the April 2nd Switch 2 Direct, and I would have probably had the trailer open up with that Switch with Metroid Prime 4, because like as much as like the game, like Mario Kart is going to be just a major success. Like it's going to sell like 50 million copies. But I thought that the April 2nd Switch 2 Direct was missing like that one big killer reveal. And because like Mario Kart had already been announced. I don't know if Donkey Kong Bonanza was the reveal. Like that one, it wasn't a killer reveal, or at least it wasn't to me. So I think that if you'd have saved Metroid Prime 4 for that spot, that would have been great. I think there's some validity to. I wouldn't say they did it dirty, but I do think that like that Direct, the March 27th Switch 1 Direct, I thought it was one of the worst Nintendo Directs I've ever seen. And for a couple of reasons. The games shown were not good, but like the placement of Metroid Prime 4 in that trailer or that Direct, it just like smack dab in the middle, no fanfare, was just like, what? That was very curious. Very curious. So
I will say regarding DK, in the initial Direct, I thought that was worthy of a one more thing, in spite of how much I don't like that new design. But like the more I've seen with that game, the more, I don't want to say I've completely fallen off with that, but I'm not seeing more of the gameplay with the treehouse. It's like, oh, this isn't quite what I was expecting going into it. I need I need to see some reviews now. Whereas before I was like, yeah, I'll buy this day one.
Yeah, I'm probably still gonna buy it day one. For me though, like that just wasn't to the caliber for such an important Direct, right? Like this is really your tone setting Direct for the entire console for like the first year. I would have went with something a little bit more. Like I would have went with your Mario, I would have went with your Zelda, I would have went with your Animal Crossing, like your A+ series. And I'm not saying that Metroid Prime 4 should have been that game. It shouldn't have. It would have been wrong in that spot too. But I think to open it would have been really good, because I believe what did open that Direct is Elden Ring. And I think like give the shine to your own game.
Mario Kart opened it.
All right, sorry, the game that was shown like right after Mario Kart, I guess I should say.
Elden Ring was like in the last third, I want to say, because they didn't do third parties until like much later.
Let me fact check myself, because I remember like there was a game that came out after that looked really cool, and I thought it was Elden Ring. Maybe it wasn't.
It was Mario Kart. Then they talked about
they talked about Mario
chat
Party.
Features.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Anyways, and then they started talking about then the Switch 2 editions. Yeah.
The point is, it doesn't matter. The point is, I would have had Metroid Prime 4 open up this Direct, because like at that point we already knew that Mario Kart was coming. Mario Kart sells itself. I think that Metroid Prime 4 would have been better in that position. So there are certainly some things I would have changed about the reveal of Metroid Prime 4, but this is what I'll also say. I don't think that like it came off as necessarily lesser than because it was on the Switch 1 Direct. And if we're talking about views, like for context, like that 27th Direct, the March 27th Direct has 6.2 million views on YouTube, and the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct has 6.5, so it's pretty darn close. And then independently, like the Metroid Prime 4 trailer is like at 1.2 million views itself. So like it's not like they're sandbagging the game, but there are some things I would have changed.
There's also, like, I can't remember who, but someone in our Discord pointed this out when it came to the treehouse view counts. But so the Mario Kart is like head and heels above every. Yeah, Shu. Yeah, thank you, Shu. Yeah, they pointed out that obviously Mario Kart treehouse, at least the day one, head and heels above everything else, which is understandable. Right. That's exactly what I would expect. In second place for view counts is the Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom Switch 2 demo. Also understandable, but not far behind that, just a smidge behind that, is the Metroid Prime 4 treehouse demo as well, even higher than Donkey Kong and like some of the other stuff. So there's definitely a lot of interest for Metroid. So I'm definitely it's definitely not game over, folks. Even if, you know, there's a lot of things I would have changed about the marketing, it's certainly not dead in the water by like, any means.
Who is saying it's dead? Like it's like I've said this before, but like Metroid fans, I feel like understandably are like, this sounds condescending, but it's not supposed to be. But like they're fragile, all right? Like we've seen bad stuff happen with Metroid games so many times over the years.
And I think both of us to an extent can be a part of that fragility as too. It's just part of being a Metroid fan. You know, we love and care about this series, and you know we want to see it succeed, and we're also aware how the critical reception just unfortunately doesn't meet the sales, so we're very sensitive to that, which I think is understandable.
And let me finish my point here. So I think that the Metroid fans are sensitive, fragile, and afraid of afraid of like success, as we said in the past, but I mean obviously afraid of failure as well, and understandably so. And I think like if you're just like, oh, the marketing for Metroid Prime 4 has been awful, I guess I push back and I'm like, has it? Like it's got a big Nintendo, like this trailer has been viewed by millions of people in a Nintendo Direct. The individual trailer has been viewed by millions of people. The game was shown off in the Treehouse, which has also been viewed by hundreds of thousands of people. It's got 2 trailers now. Yes, like of course we're saving the big one for probably when we have a firm release date for the game, and we don't even have that yet. So like we know it's coming out sometime this year, but like if the game was coming out in a month and this was all that we had for it, like okay, maybe that's a discussion to be had. But it's just like, you guys, take a breath, relax. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and sorry for interrupting you there. I just wanted to point out that like we're not just calling out fans. Like we're also a part of like, you know, that's sensitive as well. I wanted to make that clear. Like,
of course. I remember I was so upset when they announced that Switch 1 Direct, because I was like, oh my god, they're gonna show Metroid Prime 4. Like, why would they do this? And like I wouldn't have done that. But again, you kind of take a breath and you're like, you know what? This game is going to be a success. I think they've positioned it to be a success by the fact that it's coming out in the launch window of the Switch 2 alone, right there. Mm-hmm. I think that, and I don't know, maybe this is like copium or optimism or whatever, but I do think it's going to be okay. And there's a lot of time left to, you know.
I mean, I feel like that is the one thing that both of us were pretty adamant on. Like, if you do release this on the Switch 1 only, and it's only on Switch 2 via backwards compatibility, again, I don't necessarily think that's setting the game up for failure, but I think like you are severely undercapitalizing on the potential of this game and definitely, well, maybe not making it dead in the water, most definitely hindering its potential. And thankfully, we don't live in that timeline. Thank goodness we don't live in that timeline. Not only are we getting a Switch 2 edition, it is a substantially enhanced Switch 2 edition with some very noticeable updates, whether it's the mouse controls, whether it be the resolution or the performance, the texture detail. It is, and again, you still have a very beautiful Switch 1 looking game as well.
That you can upgrade down the line if you want to as well for like $10.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's the most important part. Yes. And thankfully we're in that timeline, so I'm feeling good about this game.
I like, if they undercut the game by doing that, I think that would have been major cause for concern. But thankfully reason prevailed. In that scenario. All right, great question, Harky Man. And I'm sure that this will continue to be a point of conversation until like we get that blow away great trailer. But I do think let's just exercise a little bit of patience here. Let's move on to a more fun question. I'm gonna skip past. Actually, you know what? Nah, let's just do Harky Man's second question. This is a pretty fun one too. What are your favorite 2 Metroid games in terms of art direction? By art direction, I mean the design of locales, enemies, Samus' suit, etc. Also, do you think there is room in the Metroid series for a 3rd stream of games with a new art style? Federation Force! Federation Force! Woo!
That was the first thing that jumped to me too. It's like, oh, here we go, round 2, baby.
I think I got mine too. I think I got them.
Yeah, I know what my number 1 is. I still gotta. Actually, I think I know what my number 2 is. I'll let you go first.
I'll do one. You do one. How about that?
All right.
Okay. To the absolute surprise of literally no one, my choice is Super Metroid. What could you say? Like you go to Criteria. The raid is coming. Brinstar looks amazing. Red Brinstar looks incredible. The wreck ship is so cool. Meridia is like this oppressive. Like Super Metroid, man. Like, come on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my number 1 is Metroid Prime 2 Echoes. I mean, that game came out in 2004 and in some aspects still looks like a game from the future. Sanctuary Fortress is I don't even think calling it my favorite Metroid area does it justice. That's like one of the coolest things I have ever seen. Sanctuary Fortress. Like, if I was making a top 10 list of Doom's, favorite things, Sanctuary Fortress would be somewhere on that list.
Pizza, Sanctuary Fortress, like chicken
exactly
wings.
Pizza.
And I'm with you. Yeah.
Sanctuary Fortress, tax returns. Big fan of tax returns.
Bonuses.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and Sanctuary Fortress.
Yes.
So yeah. God, Metroid Prime 2 is such a gorgeous looking game with some just creative looking environments, and obviously like Sanctuary Fortress is like at the absolute peak of that. And then my number 2. I'm gonna go with Metroid Zero Mission, specifically because of a lot of the cutscenes and like the renders. I'm a big fan of that kind of Western comic manga hybrid art style, and I definitely would be opposed to revisiting that again in the future. I really enjoyed that.
I was right there with you. I damn near picked Zero Mission, but I'm going off the cuff here actually. I'm going to take AM2R and for a couple of reasons. I think that the lighting effects in that game just like so phenomenal. And I asked Milton about this, cheap plug for our interview, director's commentary on AM2R, which you can find on omegametroid.com on our YouTube page. But like the way that the game area looks, like the dark and spooky areas, the glow of some of the lights, the glow of the screw attack, it just looks like such a phenomenal game in terms of like the art direction. I love the way that like the enemies have been reinterpreted and reimagined, and the way that like the Metroids themselves look. I like the way that they look in Samus Returns too, but for me, I'm a sucker for like the classic pixely kind of style of gameplay. So I think AM2R and like all, and especially again because like this game really just like gave life to all of these areas from Metroid 2 that were, they're black and white or green and black or whatever, and the imagination, I think, to make them be like their own unique worlds is just like so impressive to me. So AM2R is one for me. If you listen to that video, like I'm telling Milton all the time like how great I think his game is, and I'm not just saying it because I'm talking to him. Like I really think like what an impressive game.
We are both very big AM2R fans, and if for some reason you have not played it yet, hey, do yourself a favor. I'm sure if you Google the right terms in, you can find a place to download that and get started on yourself. Really a great pick me up leading up to Metroid Prime 4, I think, or really any time for that matter. It's genuinely one of the best Metroid games ever made, and I'm not exaggerating.
Like legit, yeah. I'm with you. I'm sure Dak is saying Metroid Other M is his pick as we're speaking. So shout out to you, buddy.
I also agree with you when you're talking about the lighting specifically for that game. The lighting just really like brings the atmosphere up to another level. I think it does so much to recreate a lot of the claustrophobia that you felt in the original Metroid 2, but it reinterprets it in a new way, especially when you go to some of those those sub levels and the music changes to it loses some of that percussion. It does that kind of bass harmony, and then sometimes the environments will darken, and then sometimes you'll get ambushed by the Metroids. I think that's just so effective when the game really leans into that.
I asked Milton like how he did those glowing effects, and I don't even remember what he said, but he's like, it's programming or something. But I was like, damn, this looks cool. Yeah. Just a spectacular game in terms of art, and it's got some Zero Mission in there as well, which is why I took that over Zero Mission itself. So to quickly just go to the third part there, is there room for a Metroid series for a third stream of games with a new art style? I think yes. Like I think always yes. Like there is always room, but it does come down to, I mean, Federation Force was probably that, but it was the wrong art style at the wrong time, and it was the wrong game. So
I've talked about this before, and I don't necessarily, this is probably the lowest on the totem pole of like games that I would want, but if we were to see a Super Metroid remake in the future, which again, there's so many other games I would rather have instead of a Super Metroid remake, but if we were to get that, I think that would actually be a really cool opportunity to do an HD 2D art style, which you typically only really see with like these kind of throwback 16-bit RPG renaissances. I think that could actually go really good with a Super Metroid remake to make it look modern, but also have those classical elements still intact. I think that would look so awesome.
I'd buy it. I would buy it for sure. All right, I'm going to jump around a little bit here. Let's go to a question from Dominique. What do you want to see in regards to Samus's character development in Prime 4? What would be the little quirks you'd like to see Samus do during cutscenes after her impeccable depiction in Dread? I have high expectations for Prime 4. You know, like, other than looking cool, Samus didn't really do like a whole lot in any of the Metroid Prime games, or frankly Metroid Dread either. So I guess I'd just say, like, just keep it more of the same.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess. What are your thoughts?
I was gonna say, you know, just kind of continue the work that was done on Prime. Maybe take a little bit of Dread inspiration if you do want to make her, you know, look a little bit cool, look a little badass in some specific cutscenes. I think pretty much we've already gotten a pretty good taste of like what to expect with Samus, and you know, especially with that Samus Alex showdown. So it's like, yeah, just keep going down that path and give us some more of that.
You know what I would say actually is just let Samus talk in Metroid Prime, in 2D Metroid. There is nothing wrong with having Samus speak. Like, she did speak in Dread, but like it was the one line. I think that's one of the flaws of Metroid Prime 3 is like there are times where it just like actively feels awkward that Samus isn't speaking and conversing with people. And I think, like, I don't know, I think it's just a Nintendo thing. Like, they think that your playable character should be like this avatar for you, the player, and sometimes it just like detracts from the experience. Like, so I'd let Samus talk. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, she was fine in Fusion and in Dread, and I mean, say what you will about Other M, but at least it wasn't like this unnatural, like, you know, they're talking at Samus and not with her, you know?
Well, I mean, I probably would have preferred the unnatural talking to some of the Other M dialogue, but yeah, I think I agree with that. And again, I don't need Samus to have like pages and pages of dialogue, but like if there is a scene, and who knows, maybe there isn't a scene in Prime 4 where it makes sense for her, where it doesn't make sense for her to talk back, but like if there is a scene in Prime 4 where a character is directly asking her a question or addressing her where it makes sense for her to give a response, I would prefer her to give that response rather than just be a blank slate and be awkward about it. But again, that's also not something I need if that opportunity doesn't arise.
That's fair. That's fair. It depends on the setting too, of course. But like, I guess I just feel like if Samus is talking to the Lamorn, it's just like, talk, like have a conversation. And I think you could use that in trailers too. Like, imagine if that line in Dread was in a trailer. That would have been killer. It would have taken away from the effect in the game, of course, but like I think you could have that. Anyways.
Well, but again, you even have, like, you know, Samus talking to Yumos in Prime 2, and I think that's an example where, like, would it make sense for Samus to talk? Sure, but I also don't think that scenario detracts from her not speaking. It's not like in Prime 3 where you have really those actual awkward moments where it's like no person would just be silent in there. That doesn't make dialectical or conversational sense here. So
all right, next question is from Kevin PDZ. Is the reason why Metroid Prime 4 doesn't have a specific release date yet only because Rockstar has not announced Grand Theft Auto's release date, so they don't release around the same time? I will say this. I don't think it takes Lamorn's psychic abilities to probably predict when exactly Grand Theft Auto is releasing. It's probably coming in around late November. I don't think that these have anything to do with each other. like nothing to do with each other.
Normally there are absolutely a lot of games that are coming out later this year that are directly correlated to that. I don't think Metroid is one of them. I feel like Metroid probably never really had a chance of being the holiday game, especially because it seems like Pokemon is going to take that slot this year, which makes sense. Pokemon, that's the correct move. Pokemon should be the holiday game this year. So yeah,
I will say
Metroid
this,
to me, it makes sense.
I think particularly with the Switch generation, Nintendo just like completely like distanced themselves from that competition with Sony and Microsoft. Like, and maybe some people will disagree with this, but like I feel like your audience for a Nintendo like console is vastly different than your audience from a Sony or Microsoft. Like, and you're gonna get those people that have like the two systems, and maybe they can only choose one game, you know, coming in and around Christmas time. But like, I think for the most part, like the Venn diagram of like gamers, like your Nintendo gamer is not quite its own circle, but it's pretty close. Whereas I think like the Microsoft and Sony are like way more overlapped than Nintendo.
I both agree and disagree. So I think for the most part, that's absolutely true. I do think Metroid Prime 4 is potentially a bridging of those audiences, if you will, where I do think, you know, a lot of the appeal of that game might lean a little bit, not even necessarily dominantly towards that audience, but a bit more towards that audience than your typical Nintendo releases. You know,
I agree with that. But I would say it's sorry, I cut you off. But just to throw my final 2 cents in there before you could tell me what you think. Like, I do think though that those fans in the Nintendo Venn diagram of the Nintendo circle that kind of cross over with PlayStation. I think that they're probably like more diehard Metroid fans that are going to buy this game regardless. Like, I don't think that audience is like, oh, like there's Metroid Prime 4, but Grand Theft Auto's coming out. Like, I'll get Prime 4 later. I'm not convinced that is like related really at all.
So obviously they're two very different games, but like it's more so Metroid Prime 4 when it comes to its potential. Because at the end of the day, Metroid Prime 4. The Metroid fans were going to buy Metroid Prime 4 regardless. Metroid Prime 4 needs to appeal to new fans who haven't picked up a Metroid game before, or capitalize off the new fans from Dread and Prime Remastered as well. But I would feel that putting that in the same territory as Grand Theft Auto would really diminish that when Grand Theft Auto completely takes up the news waves of something that I imagine would be appealing to at least somewhat of a similar audience. That being said, though, I don't think it factors in because, again, I don't think Metroid Prime 4 really had a chance this year of being the holiday title, whereas GTA was almost certainly going to be. I don't think that's something Nintendo is even factoring in. This seems to be more like somewhere between August and October, which, you know, I think you release it. I think you release it any time at that point. That's going to be just fine. I think the reason we haven't gotten a release date yet is simply because we haven't gotten anything post July for Nintendo. So I think that's why we haven't seen the release date yet.
Let me tell you something else too to kind of underscore my point. And I am going to age myself here, Doom, but I remember in the year of our Lord going back to 2002. Do you know what two games released like less than a month apart from each other? Metroid Prime and Vice City.
Oh wow! I was gonna say I remember Mortal Kombat releasing in that time. I don't remember Vice City.
Yeah, Vice City. It came out like really. I don't remember if it came out before or after Metroid Prime, but it came out like in and around the same time. And like obviously Metroid Prime was the best selling game, you know, that the series had ever had, and for a long time, and like so much time has passed since then, so I'm not exactly saying that it's going to be the exact same thing. But GTA 3 was like obviously a revolutionary game at the time, but like where GTA is now compared to then, GTA is like one of the biggest. I think like GTA and Minecraft are probably like the two biggest. Even back then,
right now,
GTA was huge. Like it was massive.
It was absolutely huge. Yeah,
it released in October 29th, so like less than a month apart from Metroid Prime. So like I don't think that factors into the release date at all, like at all. But
and well, to be fair, even nowadays, like I think a month apart would be just fine nowadays. But like releasing like within like a week or two, I think that starts to lean into dangerous territory. But again, I'm not worried that that's even going to happen. So.
Maybe they should release it within the same month because they could repeat the Metroid Prime magic, and Metroid Prime 4 is now the new best-selling game for the next 20 years. Maybe that's a strategy that they can do. Actually, and speaking of, our next question is going right into that. This is from Lilith. With how well Dread sold, do you see Metroid Prime 4 surpassing it in sales? Speaking of Dread, considering it was responsible for being many people's first Metroid game, do you see them being apprehensive towards Metroid Prime 4, considering it's a continuation of the Prime series? That's a fair question.
I don't think there's going to be any apprehension. I don't know. I've heard a lot of people. This is kind of another kind of going back into our Metroid fan fears and sensitivity. One of the other things that was kind of going around before we had the title reveal was, do you if you call it Metroid Prime 4, is that going to turn people off because that's the fourth game, and so I need to play 1 through 3 first, and I don't know, that's too much work. I don't know if I want to do that. I don't buy into that at all. I think there's plenty examples of massive games that took off, entries ahead. Witcher 3, which had a number and a subtitle attached to it. That's by far the biggest game in that series, and that series is bigger than ever now. Most people who've played the Witcher series have only played Witcher 3. Same thing with Baldur's Gate 3 recently. There are plenty of examples of games that have numbers that are direct continuations from previous entries that have took off, have been massive. And both of those games, I think you could also argue, are way more significant in terms of raw story than the Metroid Prime games too. So I'm, in terms of the game sales, I'm really not worried at all. I understand the argument where people are coming from, but personally, I'm really not worried about the number turning people off.
I actually think it's a fair question, but not because it's the fourth entry in the series. I think it's more fair if you positioned it as because it's a first person shooter rather than a 2D action game. That sure. I could maybe see a little bit where some people are first person shooters aren't for me. They make me dizzy. They make me sick. Whatever. I would say that that's valid, but I'm pretty much with you. I think that I expect Metroid Prime 4 to be the best selling Metroid game. What that is, I don't if it could hit 5 million units, that'd be awesome. I think that'd be awesome. I think originally DAC had some pretty lofty numbers, 10 million. I do not see 10 million.
I doubt that's happening.
No.
I'm honestly even questioning 5 million.
I question 5 as well. Yes.
Yeah.
That's pretty. If it hit 5, I would be ecstatic. I'd be
5 million. 5 million would be okay, Metroid fans, we did it. We are now permanently in good territory now. All of our fears and concerns are wiped away if we hit 5 million, I think.
And I guess the other thing too to keep in mind with Nintendo is and we're guilty of this as well, particularly me, is sales numbers, they absolutely matter, yes, but as we all know, Nintendo never puts their games on sale. So if you're selling 4 million units of Metroid Prime 4, you're probably doing better, making more money than selling 6 million units of Metroid Prime 4 if you have it on sale every 2 or 3 months or whatever. So keep that in mind as well. But I think also, it could hit 4, maybe 5. I don't know.
It's also important to keep in mind, there's other, very healthy series that sell within that same ballpark that Metroid hits. Fire Emblem,
Kirby
sells on average just yeah. Well, Kirby sells quite a bit over Metroid, especially in Japan. But I'm talking worldwide. When you go total sales, Fire Emblem sells just a little bit over Metroid. Xenoblade sells usually just a little under Metroid. Both of those, I would say, are very healthy series that Nintendo clearly has a lot of ambition and plans with moving forward. So I think, regardless, Metroid is in a very good spot right now.
I am going to, because I can't resist a dig at Kirby. I'm gonna fact check you. There are 3 games in the Kirby franchise that have ever sold more than the highest selling Metroid game. Other than that, they're pretty much at 1.5, 2.5 kind of territory. And obviously those are Kirby All-Stars, the Forgotten Land are the big ones. And Kirby, the Forgotten Land is like the best-selling Kirby title by
far. Well, that's kind of what I was going for. Like Forgotten Land, I feel like put Kirby like on another level because that game, like for a Kirby game, sold massively.
Yeah. And it probably did level up Kirby, but I got to get my Kirby digs in there. Other than that, you're pretty much at like 1.5 consistently for all of these games. So like, I don't know. Maybe this will be the Forgotten Metroid Prime 4 Beyond will be the Forgotten Land of the Metroid series. So here's hoping. If it could beat Kirby, my God, can you imagine that? I'd be dancing in the streets. All right. Oh my God, we're going like, okay, let's do 3 more and then we'll get out of here. And I want to do 2 from New Supreme Man because I think that both of these are cool questions. And we'll start off with, after all of the new footage we have of Metroid Prime 4, do you guys still think we'll be seeing Silas's ship, the Delano 7? I think if Samus's gunship makes the transfer over to View-Ross, then the Delano 7 is much more likely. So I would agree with that last statement. If Samus's gunship is there, I think that the Delano 7 would be. I hope so, man. Like, I hope that you get some kind of gunship battle between those two ships. Like, that would just be incredible.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to add, but yeah, I've already talked about how much I want more expanded ship functionality. Some ship combat would be really killer in Prime 4. I don't know if we're getting that. It would be pretty awesome if we did. And man, having a dogfight with the Delano 7, that would just be really cool.
God, that'd be so good. You know what? Even like keep Silex alive. Save it for Metroid Prime 5 if you really want to. Just like have it happen at some point. I think would be cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess it depends. Like if our theories about like the suit lets you swap back and forth between the past, future, dimension, whatever. I could see that maybe, but I sure hope so. I'd love to see that in HD, the Delano 7. I really would.
Mm-hmm.
The other question, which I think is kind of cool, and I don't know if you guys touched on this last week or not. Maybe you could fill me in on that. But this is from New Supreme Man. What is your Samus's percentages for Ridley showing up in Metroid Prime 4? What about Kraid?
We did want to, or I wanted to touch on this last week, but we got lost in the sauce, and I think I kind of forgot. I honestly, I thought our conversations were way more interesting anyways. So, okay. It's actually really funny because prior to the Nintendo Treehouse, my Samus percentages would have been pretty high. I probably would have been into like a 70 or 80%. After the Treehouse, I think it's sub 10% on Ridley showing up. Yeah, because I feel like for Ridley to show up, we would have had to see him in the opening sequence getting absorbed. And, I mean, maybe it's possible they're hiding him. I don't think you would... Ridley, I don't think that's something you really hide, though. I think that's something that, you show off. So, I don't know. I actually don't think we're seeing Ridley anymore in Prime 4. And by extension, I think Kraid is absolutely zero shot if Ridley's not showing up.
I'll answer Kraid first because I will never give a 0%, but it's low. Like it's I'm gonna say 3% that you see Kraid. Before Metroid Dread, I would have been pretty high on seeing Kraid actually, but I just don't think that, and I think that we will see Kraid in Metroid Prime one day, and I think that fight's gonna be awesome. But maybe this isn't the right game for that. In terms of Ridley. Like, I guess I'm trying to think, like, I put out the theory maybe that red and black suit allows you to swap between View-Ross and, like, the real world, but, like, the whole game is built around Samus trying to escape this planet, so maybe that's not the way. It certainly lowers the percentage of seeing Ridley there. I think, like, I think I'm going to go back to my other theory where, like, maybe this View-Ross planet is where the Ridley species comes from. I think that's your best shot of seeing Ridley there.
I think so. I'm not necessarily convinced about that, but I think if we see him, I feel like that's...
I guess I just keep coming back to, like, it's been so long since we got a Metroid Prime game. I want to fight Ridley. How are we going to make it work? Like, that's kind of the thing. And, like, I wonder if it's just, like... Because part of me is just, like, I feel like they got to come up with some way to get me a Ridley boss fight in this game. And I don't know what that is, but, like... So that my percentage isn't as low as yours. I'll go 40%, but it certainly took a hit after the Treehouse. That's for sure.
I
don't know.
Hopefully 100% agree with you. Not 100% on the Samus's percentage meter, but yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. And our last question, and then we'll cut it off after this because because we got some projects to work on here today, Doom. But Pikmineer, our guy SZ over on the Omega Metroid team, who was a great help with actually that Metroid Prime Hunters project. So shout out to SZ. Let's go. Metroid Dread so far has not received any news about any specified upgrade for the Switch 2. Will there be an upgraded version made available sometime during the system's lifetime? If so, will it have an expansion similar to what Mario Party Jamboree and Kirby and the Forgotten Land are getting? Or will it be closer to pure visual upgrades in a similar vein to Breath of the Wild Tears of the Kingdom? Additionally, if there is any upgrade, will there be a specified paid upgrade or one of the free patches that will be rolled out for games like Scarlet Violet and Mario Odyssey? Are those free patches?
So those are, so okay. Odyssey, Bowser's Fury, Scarlet Violet, Captain Toad, Game Builder Garage, New Super Mario Brothers U, weirdly, and not Mario Wonder, and like a couple other games I can't remember, are all getting free patches. We don't know what's in those free patches yet, but we do know that those are getting free patches. Maybe
just like performance. My reading like that list of games, I would be inclined to say that those are probably just performance packages and like nothing else included.
Maybe like mouse controls. I think Captain Toad would be getting mouse controls. But yeah, that's kind of the thing though. It's hard to say. It's hard to say whether it would be a free patch or a paid upgrade, just because we don't know what's in those free patches at the moment. Yeah. So it's hard to say what it would be right now. I will say I think a Metroid Dread's Nintendo Switch 2 edition would be, a really cool little promotional piece leading up to Metroid 6, which I feel like is pretty inevitable within like the next 3 years at least. So
yeah, I guess I'm not sure, like, because Metroid Dread is a pretty silky smooth running game. It looks great. I guess I'm just like, I don't know, like, would they go through the trouble of this? Maybe they would, but like, I feel like you kind of look at, like, it makes total sense to do Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, like, duh. That's 60 million copies between the two, or maybe 50 million, but whatever. I think, like, you look at Scarlet and Violet, and that's a game that, like, definitely needs an upgrade. I don't know. I guess I could see it, but I wouldn't be, like, holding out for it either,
Yeah, I think another thing to keep in mind is that, like, the games that have like those DLC expansions are, I don't know, a little bit I don't know. I feel, obviously I would love to have a DLC expansion in Metroid Dread, but I don't think you need a DLC expansion for that game. But especially I also
not
don't
like
know
4 years after it's come out.
But I don't know if a game, I don't know. Like I would love a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, and I would love a DLC expansion for that game. I don't know if Nintendo would want to invest those resources. I feel like, to me, like, the more I think about it, I think, like, if it were to get an enhanced edition, I feel like the free patch just makes more sense. Maybe you uncap the resolution a little bit to, like, 1440p or 4K. You uncap the frame rate in the cutscenes so that it's 60 across the board. And then that's probably about it if you're doing a free upgrade, at least as far as we know. Maybe free upgrades can also get like 4K patches too. I don't know, but I feel
I could see a world where there's a 4K paid upgrade, but in terms of extra content, I think the ship has sailed there, and like, I don't know what extra content you even want at this point.
Yeah, I could see it. I just feel like it would be more likely that it would just get like a little free patch, and maybe like another free small content update, like equivalent of like that boss rush mode. Maybe something very small and minor, not like a big DLC expansion.
Can you imagine if they did a randomizer? That would
would be awesome. I would pay for a randomizer mode.
I would too.
If they sold randomizer for $20, I would eat that up so fast.
That would be awesome. I wish Nintendo would do that, man. Like, you know what I'm gonna bring into the world, Doom, and I'm gonna start it all anew. Forget the Metroid Dread Switch 2 version. Metroid Samus Returns Switch 2 version. Let's go. I do hope they port that game eventually. Like,
I want to say I'm hopeful. We're starting to see more 3DS ports, so it's like it's not impossible. Please bring that game to Switch. Please.
I think I'm ready to concede defeat on Metroid Samus Returns overcoming to Nintendo Switch. Missed opportunity for Metroid fans. There were a couple questions that we didn't get to, but we answered a couple. Anything I left out is from someone that asked another question already. So hopefully you're not too upset. And if you tag us in Discord, we'll answer them there. But we're gonna cut it off there for the show. Thank you so much to everybody that submitted a question. Lots of great questions. We didn't have like a ton, but the ones that we did get, I thought were like a lot of meat on the bone there. So we were very thankful for those, and thank you for doing that. All right, well, any final parting thoughts before we get the heck out of here, Doom?
I don't know, man. Like, the more I talk about, so I want to talk about like my hyped games tier list again. I want to revisit that because like, and I feel like this has been a theme with me ever since that re-reveal. But I feel like initially, when like these both this and the Viros trailer came out, I feel like initially when those came out, I was underwhelmed. But the more I like really start to like process those and like really start discussing the possibilities, I start to get more and more anticipated and excited. And like I feel like now that I've had the time to process like the Treehouse and the Viros trailer and like all of the potential that like I'm starting to see, even if it wasn't directly shown, but like I'm starting to see like the potential these games has, like the more and more like I'm more excited for Prime 4 than I've ever been. Like just solely just because of, you know, talking with people and like, you know, shooting the crap back and forth. And so yeah, Metroid Prime 4, it might be a bit higher at this point. I'm so excited to see this June trailer, and I'm very excited to get this game in my hands. I'm
with you. I'm gonna go and buy a new 4K TV this weekend, actually. So let's go. I'm excited.
I might not buy one this weekend myself, but I was actually, because I've really wanted to buy the LG G4 ever since it came out, but like it a big like 77-inch, but like obviously, as you can imagine, a brand new 77-inch TV, insanely expensive. And when it came out, the 77-inch one version was like $5,000. It's roughly after taxes, it's actually dropped quite a bit. It's about $3,000 right now. So
that is buck wild.
I've been looking at it. Obviously, I got some other more important things that I got to pay for, and obviously, I want to make sure my my savings account is secured for this recession that is inevitably coming up soon. But I got my eye on that, and maybe I'll snag that just before Prime 4 comes out.
There you go. My strategy was actually to wait until Father's Day in and around, because that's when all like the TVs and stuff go on sale. So I'm probably gonna snag something from Costco. Nothing like crazy, but just something a little bit bigger than what I currently have right now. So yeah. Okay, well, once again, thank you so much to everybody for asking us questions. A little bit of a roadmap here of what you're going to see over the next couple weeks. We obviously have some time to fill between now and the June Direct. So, and all this is subject to change, of course, based on what we get. But we're going to see a couple of our favorite sub-series here come back on the show, including the return of the Logbook Archives. We're going to be diving deep into the Galactic Federation, trying to see what this organization is really all about. Why does Silex hate them so much? Who is this mysterious faction that has made these questionable testing facilities that we see in Metroid Other M?
It's Volgan.
It is, but I keep on going back to the Splinter Cell. I mean, that's who knows. So we're gonna do that. We are going to be returning to Metroid manga in review, and Joey and Samus has one final edition left, and we have to go in and finish that story, and then we'll move on to some other great manga that has been done before. Alien in review will return. So currently right now we're on Prometheus, which is low-key one of my favorite Alien movies, actually. So that's going to be really, really exciting. And we've also got a lot of new stuff coming up for Alien Earth as well, with the new series on Hulu. So that's going to be a blast as well. And of course,
low-key, I'm super excited for Alien Earth. Like the teasers have like really been getting me. And also that that Predator Badlands movie also looks pretty rad. Yeah.
I was looking at that actually, like, before we started recording. I was like, this looks so sick. I'm really excited for that. I think it's going to be great. And of course we'll stay on top of all the Metroid Prime 4 news. Hopefully there's a direct coming up in June. And of course, once we get to June, we'll have a lot of impressions about the Switch 2, Mario Kart World, not necessarily Metroid or anything like that, but we'll talk about how the new console feels and all that kind of stuff. So lots of good stuff coming down the pipe. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in. I know this week and last week were long ones, but we appreciate you checking us out. We are going to get out of here, and we'll wrap it up here quick. But of course, give us a follow wherever you are over on Blue Sky. We are at Omega Metroid, at Spiteri316, at Doomino Cross. Check out OmegaMetroid.com. As mentioned, we're going to have some really cool stuff coming out, hopefully this week, in relation to Metroid Prime Hunters as well, which we'll go over in depth as we get there. So check that out. There's news, there's guides, there's maps, there's strategies, there's this, there's that, everything you need if you're a Metroid fan. Our YouTube page, go and subscribe because, hey, you can see our smiling faces as we do these shows every single week if you wanted to see that. And of course, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/spnet. The Great Metroid Area Ranking rolls along, and actually, Samantha and I are doing a show this month, so that's going to be a lot of fun because she doesn't know anything about Metroid, so it's going to be a good time. We are going to get out of here, but of course, we do want to wish everybody an amazing rest of your week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Till then, my friends, ciao.